lifting the lid on this octopus video. Anyways, Yo Coot here, coming back at you with another exciting video. This is the way I learned to cook octopus back in Sicily decades ago. That recipe came from the original people who showed me how to do it, which were doing it literally at the turn of the century. So this is over like 100 years old. Anyways, let me tell you all what's going on here. We'll bring you up to speed. But one thing I want to tell you right off the bat is the way you know that you did it right is when the skin comes off or like peels off of the octopus like it does here. See how that comes off? That's how you know you've got tender octopus that is going to be tender. Another key factor here before I get into anything else is do not take this over to the sink and run cold water on it. What's going to happen is first of all, you're going to wash the flavor away. But the second thing is all that cold water is going to do is just shock the octopus and cause it to tighten up and become tough and chewy and hard, like chewy in a bad way and like just tough. And you don't want to do that. The proper way to do this is after it's all said and done and it's been cooked, let it sit for at least an hour covered, which I've already done. We're at like 5 o'clock right now. But let me bring you through the whole process. So some of the tips or tricks that I've been mentioning in the previous videos are vinegar. You want to try to use red wine vinegar. I would say about a half a tablespoon per octopus. The salt to water ratio is also crucial. No, it shouldn't be as salty as the ocean. You want to use about a half a tablespoon of vinegar per octopus. That little bit of salt in there is what's going to help to push the vinegar inside of the octopus fibers and make them tender, break them down, make them more palatable. That good texture that's juicy and tender in your mouth. That's what you want. Okay, let's talk about the whole process. So starting from the sink, right? I got the octopus. Costco sells them now, so I bought them at Costco. Literally brought them home and started this process. I didn't even want to stick them in the fridge because they were that fresh. So take the octopus, wash it, right? Make sure you get the inside, turn the head inside out. If there's the beak there, leave it in there. You can take it out after it's done cooking, but if the beak's already been removed, even better. The beak is the part that the octopus, the mouth, what it uses to eat. But anyways, after you've washed them, what you want to do is put them into a pot try to put it in a pot that's low and more wider, because steam is going to help you, pressure is going to help you, time, etc., etc. You don't want to drown your octopus. Basically, what you should do is put your octopus in and then fill it up with water just enough to like barely come up above the top of the octopus. If like there's one part, like if the head or whatever, or one of the tentacles is just sticking up above the water line, that's totally fine. But you don't want to fill up the pot and have your octopus in there drowning in that water. That's not what you want. So you put your water in, your octopus is in there. This is all cold. Heat's off, everything. This is all cold. The water's cold, came right out of the sink. What you then want to do is add your salt, right? So half a tablespoon per octopus. Then you want to add your vinegar. Again, half a tablespoon per octopus. I put in 1 bay leaf per octopus. And then I also put in a dash, like a little dash of paprika. The paprika is not part of the traditional Sicilian way. The reason why I put in the paprika was it kind of reminds me of that nostalgia of these old timers that showed me how to do this, doing it over a wood-fired stove. So it was the smell, it was the profile, that little bit of smokiness, and that's the best way that I found to replicate that is just putting like a little dash of paprika. 1/64 of like a teaspoon. We're talking the smallest amount of smoked paprika. Okay, to round out the flavor profiles, the bay leaf that's in there, right? 1 bay leaf per octopus basically broadens the taste profile or the spectrum. Now you're starting to pick up little nuances that are within the octopus, right? Then I put in thyme. I put in about 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/8 teaspoon of thyme to kind of, again, just broaden out that flavor profile. And also the thyme kind of acts in the same way that the bay leaf does. It just broadens out the flavor, but it also, in a scientific kind of way, just barely kind of helps to like one more notch or one more level of tenderization to help tenderize that octopus. Then I put in 8 peppercorns, right? Just to kind of give a little bit of a heat to the palate. And then I also put in around 12 red pepper flakes. So 8 black peppercorns whole, and then 12 red pepper flakes, flake seeds, to kind of hit different parts of the palate or different parts of the tongue with heat, because I kind of like that heat. But it's not too much. It's not overpowering. You know, if you want to go nuts and pour like whatever you want, hot sauce in afterwards, be my guest. Do whatever you want to do. But this is as close to the traditional way as possible. So anyways, then another key factor is the lemon. There's 1 whole lemon that I utilized in different ways in this pot. What I did was I zested the lemon, put the zest in the water. I squoze the lemon, right? Cut it in half, squoze the lemon. The juice of the lemon is in there, as well as the pulp. I took the seeds out, so there's no seeds in there. And then I also put the 2 lemon halves in there as well. And again, that helps with the tenderization. It also helps, like the salt is going to push that vinegar, that red wine vinegar, into the octopus to help tenderize it. The lemon's going to give it a little bit of like seasoning and also help with the tenderization. You kind of get the idea, but that's basically it. There's no cork in here. Everybody talks about the cork. What does the cork do? The story, I mentioned this in a couple other videos, but the cork, the original origin of that cork story is that when these people were making the octopus, they got so drunk that the cork fell into the pot. And after the octopus came out so tender, for a while, they thought that it was the cork that was making the octopus tender, but that's not true. It's just because they were all drunk and the cork accidentally fell in. If you're a cork fan and you want to like use the cork, be my guest. To me, honestly, and in the decades that I've been making this recipe without using a cork, the cork makes no difference. I would love to see one of these like YouTubers do a video, cork, no cork, same exact method, same exact recipe, side by side. That would be amazing if somebody actually did that and have like 3 professional experts, maybe like Food Network could do it. Hey, I would love, if Food Network, if you're watching this video, I would love to run that experiment on one of your shows to see if the cork makes a difference. Honestly, in my opinion, the cork makes no difference. It doesn't do anything. It literally does nothing. The octopus comes out tender, in my honest opinion, because of the salt to water ratio. The salt is pushing the vinegar, the red wine vinegar, into the octopus. That's what's breaking down the fibers. Okay, so let's talk about everything's in the party, right? Everything's in the pool. We've got cold water, cold octopus. We've got all of our seasonings in there, right? We've got, for 2 octopus, we've got 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar. We've got 1 tablespoon of salt. We've got the 8 black peppercorns. We've got the 12 red pepper flake seeds, whatever it is. Then we've got 1/8 teaspoon of thyme, right? Cut that in half. Use a 1/16 if you're only going to be doing 1 octopus. Then we've got 1 bay leaf per octopus, right? We've got the whole lemon in there, the entire lemon that's in there, used in different ways. We've got the zest of the lemon. We've got the pulp of the lemon. We've got the juice of the lemon, all in there. Everything's in the pool. We cover it with the lid, right? Put the lid on it, bring it up to temperature. So I'm going to turn my heat to medium, let this come up to simmering, and just bloop, 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 just barely boiling, right? Once you're at a point where it's barely boiling, turn your heat down to between medium and low. So medium and low, you want to be right there in the middle between medium and low. Keep the lid on it, right? Let it go for 25 minutes. Depending on where you are in the world or where you are in the United States, for altitude adjustment, you may need to adjust the time. You kind of get the idea, but for most of us in the United States, I would say 25 minutes cooking between medium and low is where you want to be. Lid is on, it's cooking away. After 25 minutes, shut off the heat. If during that 25 minutes you can hear, like audibly, you can hear that it's boiling in there, lower your heat even more. Put it down to maybe more on the lower end of the spectrum. You're trying to avoid boiling it. You want it to simmer, is a better choice of words. And you want that steam. That steam action is helping to create like a quasi pressure cooker type of an environment where heat, pressure, The science of the ingredients, the vinegar helping to break down and tenderize that octopus, the salt is helping to push or saturate or force that vinegar in there. That's what's going to make the octopus tender. So once you're done with that 25 minutes, shut off the heat, leave the lid on, let it sit for 1 hour. What's happening during that hour is that the octopus is slowly regulating its temperature back down to whatever room temperature is, right? But at the same time, that tenderization process is still being done during that time frame. The worst thing you can do, and I'll explain why, the worst thing you could do is shut off the heat, take this over to the sink, pour out the juice, run cold water over it. What's going to happen if you do that is you're just going to shock the octopus. It's going to tighten up. It's going to get really hard, and it's going to turn into a piece of shoe leather, basically. If you let it come back down to room temperature or close to it, let's say even like 100 degrees, if you let it come back down to room temperature naturally after an hour, right, let the science do its thing, let the temperature come back down. Now, when you go to take it out and cut it, now you're going to retain the juices. You're going to retain the texture of it being tender. It's very much like a ribeye steak or like a Thanksgiving turkey. If you take it out of the oven, cut it right away, all the juices run out. Your piece of whatever you cooked becomes dry and tough. So let it come back down to temperature normally. If you want a warm octopus salad, whatever you're going to do with it, after that hour of it resting and just coming back down to, as close to room temperature naturally as possible, then you can go ahead and take it out, put it on a cutting board, cut it up, and enjoy your octopus. Typical after cooking kind of additions to the octopus would be garlic, parsley, lemon juice, maybe a little salt if it needs it. It shouldn't need it, but if it does, a little bit of salt, maybe some black pepper, and then a drizzle of olive oil. That's very traditional Sicilian style warm octopus. Me personally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit even more, like another hour, to make sure that it really is at room temperature between like, let's say 70 to 72 degrees or so. I'm going to take it out of the water, put this in the fridge, let it sit overnight, let it kind of do its thing, chill out. Then I'm going to cut it and make a nice cold octopus salad out of it with those same ingredients. Garlic, black pepper. I might put some fennel bulb in there, like sliced up, really thin, finely sliced fennel bulb. That kind of gives it a nice good flavor too as well. So garlic, black pepper, lemon juice, a little bit of fennel, and some parsley, some flat leaf parsley cut up, and then drizzle with olive oil. Boom, that's a beautiful cold octopus like salad or way to do it. The other thing is if you don't want to toss this juice, some people might shut off the channel right now. That's totally fine. But if you don't want to toss all this beautiful water, this octopus water, man, you can make the best risotto with this. Very nice fish profile, fish tasting, but like in a good way. You could also make pasta with this water. You could also there's so many things you can do with this water. If you like that fish flavor and you want a unique fish flavor, you could do something like this. If you even want to go even more nuts, what you could do is you could take the water and freeze it, right? And put it into like those little ice cube trays or silicone trays or whatever the case may be. And then if you're making a dish that's like a seafood dish, you could pop one of those fish ice cube water things in there and just enhance the flavor even more. It's kind of like anchovy paste, but not, but close. But anyways, you get the idea. So anyways, key takeaways from this video, if you fast forward to this part. Tip number 1 is wash your octopus. Tip number 2 is put your octopus in your pot while it's cold. Everything is cold. Fill up the pot so that the water just barely touches the top of the octopus. Everything is still cold, right? Put in a half a tablespoon of red wine vinegar into the water. Put in a half a tablespoon of salt into your water. Iodized, red, pink, Himalayan, Celtic sea salt makes no difference. Just 1/2 tablespoon of salt per octopus in your pot. 1 bay leaf per octopus. Put that in your pot. Get your lemon in there, right? Zest your lemon, cut your lemon in half, squeeze your lemon, get the pulp in there, throw the whole lemon in there. The lemon, and the whole lemon. I think it's in there, right there. There you go. There's one half, and the other half is somewhere else in there. And I think somewhere in here, the bay leaf should be too. Or the bay leaves, I should say, because there's two of them in there. Once you get all your seasonings in there, your thyme, 1/8 teaspoon of thyme, you've got your 8 black peppercorns, you've got your 12 red pepper flakes. I put in a dash of the smoked paprika to remind me of Sicily and cooking over a wood-fired, wood-fired cooking, stove, range, whatever. Once you get everything in there, cover this, right? So cover this, turn your heat to medium. So now you're turning on this thing for the first time. Turn your heat to medium, let it go for about 8 to 10 minutes. At 8 to 10 minutes, check it. Is it blooping, right? Are you getting just a bloop of a boil, bloop, bloop, bloop? If you are, put the lid back on, turn it down to between medium and low, like right in the middle. Let it go for 25 minutes. If you've already passed the point that it's starting to boil, no big deal. Just turn your heat to between medium and low, you're fine. If it's still simmering, it hasn't quite blooped yet, just put the lid back on, wait another 2 minutes, wait for it to bloop. Once it goes bloop, 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 like it's starting to boil, put the lid back on, obviously, and then turn your heat to between medium and low. Let it go for 25 minutes, right? So 25 minutes is your real cooking time. That pre-simmer was just bringing it up to temperature. 25 minutes is the cooking time. After 25 minutes, set a timer, but after 25 minutes and your timer goes off and you've reached 25 minutes, shut your heat off, keep the lid on, and let it rest for at least an hour. After an hour, you can pull the lid off, see where you're at, and then that's where you have 2 roads you can go down. You could either take it out, cut it up, and have it warm octopus, or you could let it go longer, put it in the fridge, make a cold octopus salad the next day, do whatever you got to do with it. You get the idea. How long does this keep? That's another good question that might come up. Once you stick it in the fridge, I would say it'll keep for maybe 2 days, 3 days, maybe the most. And then it kind of gets a little, fishy. But try to eat it within 2 or 3 days and you should be fine. And pretty much that's everything. So remember, no cork. Don't need the cork. The cork is a myth. It's just a story that the old timers tell of when they were drunk and the cork fell in accidentally because they were drunk. You get the idea? And no shocking, do not take your octopus out of this, put it into cold water or an ice bath. All you're going to do is those fibers in there are going to tighten up and they're going to become extremely tough and hard like shoe leather. So don't do that. Either refrigerate it, let that refrigeration process and the science behind that happen so you can have cold octopus the next day, or just cut it up while it's still warm. Like right now, this water is about 100 degrees or so, I'd say. Damn, that is so good. And remember, from the beginning of the video, the way you know that you did it right was when the skin kind of peels off a little bit. That's flavor though. 90% of the flavor of the octopus is in that skin. But the way you know you did it right is when that skin just kind of flakes off. That's how you know that you did it tender and right. And that's the telltale sign that you did it correctly. That juice is gold, by the way. Anyways, catch you all in the next exciting video.